Unbroken.
Happy
Unbroken.
motivational Sunday. Yes. Before I get started, I always say G's in the middle beat, but then when the record comes, you switch. So I'm going to say G Money, Rich Widmer, Unbroken Talk, the gentleman on my outside, he could be in the inside when this is done recording, Matt Trost. All I have to say is I know G knows this gentleman a long time, but Inspirational Sunday. G, you know I fucking love this shit. Unbroken Talk is about inspirational stories by regular people, man. And it's inspirational we all go through fucking all kinds of shit. And Matt is no different and I said this earlier before we went live, but I know the ending of this story and I'm looking at a fantastic, healthy young man with a smile on his face. So listen, I got the tissues just in case,
And just so if you didn't notice, we had cleaning people come and they did origami with all our tissues beautiful. And our toilet paper. Yeah, it was awesome.
You see this? Yeah. So when I had a runny nose, I did this. I didn't want to.
You didn't want to use it. It was too pretty. Too pretty to use it. Yeah.
I didn't want to fucking use it. But so that's what this is about. And we're going to be inspired by Matt. So Matt, you're going to get the floor. But first, obviously, let's rewind, as you were growing up, what kind of child were you? What kind of childhood did you have, family and all? Let's start from the beginning, brother. Unravel it for us.
First of all, real quick, guys, thank you so much for having me on. I know today's supposed to be about me, but Rich, thank you. I really do appreciate it. And Patty, for those who don't know Patty, she was, I don't want to get her head too big right now, but one of the best employees and trainers we've ever had at one of the retro fitnesses.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, we have a certain connection. I always had a soft spot for Patty because of all the hard work and just because we connected on some different things. Whenever we did get to BS behind the counter a little bit.
Absolutely.
Good stuff, man.
And you amazing boss. And I am so happy that you were able to come on and talk to us.
No. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Hey, Matt, do you take Venmo? Patty will have to Venmo you that advertisement. Venmo.
Well, listen, to answer your question, my childhood was about as normal as you would get from the outside, right? We grew up in a little suburb, right here in New Jersey, had a really good mother and father, I have a brother, I love him so much, but there was always something a little bit different. And it came internally, and I guess we'll probably talk a lot more about that. But I had this normal childhood, but I always felt a sense of less than, I could never really, my parents used to say this as a joke. It was too hard to punish me because nobody would punish me worse than I would punish myself.
Right. Why do you think that? You were hard on yourself. Did you play sports? Where'd that begin?
Yeah. That's so actually, Rich, you were just saying that. So I wrestled my whole life.
Right on.
Yeah. So I excelled in wrestling and football, especially at a younger age in wrestling. But I was a head case. The little kid who throws his headgear, storms off the mat. You can't find me. I'm under the bleachers type kid. I always had a sense of judge, I would even during a match, right? I could peg out a kid I knew I would beat. But the second a kid was maybe even as good as me, he might not have been as good as me, but if I felt challenged, I always withered. Always. I didn't have the mental toughness that I would need later down the road. I think I needed to go through all that as a kid, but that was kind of, and it went through everything like that. I got really good grades, but God forbid I didn't get a good grade. It actually was what, I'm sure we'll get to this point to where I was almost broken, right? And
right.
Was able to kind of rebuild myself.
So you had, from an early age, extremely tough on yourself.
Oh yeah.
Let me just
totally relate.
From, I get that, but where do you think, was it ingrained from that was your being, or was it expected by mom and dad, or, comparing? Where do you think that where did that come from? Where do you think that originated?
So it's perfect that you're asking me this now, because I'm on kind of a personal development journey. And a lot of that is going back to your childhood. Right. Because from ages 0 to 7 is where we get our brains programmed the most, right? So we learn things. Where do we learn them from? Our family, our coaches, our peers. Right. So yeah, mom and dad, first of all, love mom and dad. I hope they get to see this. They are some of the most amazing people. But yeah, my dad was old school. If I won a wrestling match, hey kid, you're coming in the car with me. We're stopping to go get ice cream, something good. If I lose a match, go home with your mother. You want to cry? You're not coming in my car.
Man. That's it right there, right? Yep. Yeah, man. That's
I think we can all relate to that.
I could so relate to that. And that is, you hit the nail on the head, man. It's like you're a product of your environment. Let's face it, right? I mean, early on, no matter what, a product of your environment. So that started to really develop that. And because of that wrestling, man, that fucking sport is just, one-on-one, hand-on-hand combat. And it's either you're bringing it or not. And I guess for you, it started really developing that hard on yourself as you got older. You saw it firsthand, right? So take us through high school. Now, how you wrestled in high school? Was it the same? Yeah. Did it get worse? Take me through high school.
This is where everything really flips.
Okay.
In 8th grade, I graduated 8th grade I think I was the 5th, top 5 in my grade, graduating in academics. I'm going to an all-boys private school to wrestle. I guess you would say, if you ask my parents, I was kind of like the perfect kid then. But what was happening was the pressure that I was putting on myself was building and building and building. And I'll never forget my freshman year of high school. So I go to this all-boys private school in Jersey City. I was a big fish in a small pond growing up, right? I was always pretty much one of the best athletes, best academics. All of a sudden, I go to the school, housing other guys. I'm middle of the road in academics. I'm a good wrestler, but I didn't lift. I still was a baby, had a lot of baby pudge on me. I'm wrestling now, 18-year-old adults that are driving themselves to school. I didn't start varsity for the first 2 weeks, which for me, like, if for how I was projected, I thought I was going to be a lot bigger of a hotshot than I was. And that pressure cracked me. And that was the first time, about 2 months into my freshman year of high school, that I tried, all within a month, I tried drinking beer for the first time, which went to smoking weed, which went to doing cocaine, so I'm 14 years old. And now I'm using cocaine as a child, basically.
You were really trying. So I can relate to that pressure where you just, it was easy for you up to that point, and you thought it would have continued. Like from the all boys school, like what kind of the kids you were hanging out with? Is that what they were doing? That was the.
Yeah, they were, but you know what? It's not there. Like, I've done a lot of work on myself. It's not my parents were drinkers, so I wanted to blame them, and I wanted to blame everybody else. But I needed to go through. Now I know I needed to go through all this, but I had so much pressure that I put on myself. I would have looked for any escape. I could have done it by myself. It wouldn't have mattered. So you do you find the other people who have too much pressure and are looking to escape.
Misery loves company, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And then that's where, listen, try this, and we all know the numbing agent, right? Yep. The next best. Yep. Okay, so take us. So it started, and that was freshman year it started. And you were on the fucking fast pace line, 0 to 100, right to, so we're talking freshman. It went drug all the way to coke, and then take me through the rest of high school. Talk me through it.
So this was my excuse now, right? Because I was never, I'm able to be honest with myself now. I don't have to be critical. I could be aware. I wasn't going to be a great wrestler because I didn't put in the work anymore to be a great wrestler. But it was the perfect excuse. Well, if I wasn't smoking weed and drinking, I'd be a really good wrestler. If I wasn't doing coke on a Tuesday night, I'd probably get a better grade on my test. It was really because I was afraid to fail. So if I sabotaged myself, I didn't really fail in my head. So anyway, junior year, I got kicked out of that all-boys school.
Wow.
Yeah. So I went back.
Was it great? Kicked out from what? Grades or?
I know. I was trying to get kicked out for a while, and they weren't letting me really get kicked out because of sports. So I'm not proud of this, but I threw a desk in the vicinity of a teacher, not like enough to scare the teacher to where I knew they weren't going to let me.
You booby trapped yourself. I mean, that's basically it. So that takes you drugs, just basically booby trapping your life because of the fact you weren't prepared mentally. So take us through then. What did you go to public school then?
Yep. So I went back to public school. I somehow graduated.
Where was this, Matt?
This was in Beckton, in Carlstadt, East Rutherford. So I went back to Beckton. That's where I'm originally from.
Mm-hmm.
I graduated because I was a decently smart kid, but I should be getting A's. I'm getting C's and D's. I'm just getting by. And the partying just got worse. It was, ecstasy, the same exact things, except after and I guess I'm sure we'll get there, but after I graduated was the first time that I had a real, what's the word for it? That I had a real consequence. At first it was all fun. I'm a kid. I don't really have a lot of responsibility, but when I turned 18, I was supposed to be going to William Patterson. And then that's where everything took a turn for the worse.
All right. So let me stop you there. So and listen, I mean, you were a kid, tons of pressure, expected to be a star athlete, didn't fall the cards, and were your support system from parents to the point up to 18? Did you have any kind of support or anybody saying, hey man, you're fucking up, dude, get your shit together?
Yeah, listen, I have a mother and father that were incredible to me. You know what you start to figure out? That your parents aren't superheroes, they're just human beings. But as a kid, you feel like, so my parents were going through their own, they got divorced when I was 18. So you got to remember during my formidable years when I needed 14 to 18, they were trying to survive, man.
Yeah,
they loved me. They catch me, they catch me the same thing. They catch me drinking, smoking weed. I'd be grounded for a week. I was such a nuisance. After 6 days, they're like, get the hell back out of the house. Like, we can't have you in here type thing.
And it's old school. And I relate because having, understanding that, a lot of the times if it's, how should I say, the parents would more or less wouldn't want to believe it per se. And especially if you give them some kind of comfort, I got it. It's not a big deal. And blow it off. They'll go, and especially they're going through the hard times themselves. So 18, what were the consequences, man? What the fuck? What happened?
So 18, I'm supposed to go to William Patterson. A week before, I tell my parents, there's no way I'm going to school. Like, I just want to work. Again, they're in the middle. I was able to take advantage of my mother, who I love more than anything. My dad had moved out. I was like, listen, I'm not going to college. I was an adult. She could either kick me out or she said, okay, you can get a job. So it was the end of September. I should have been in my dorm for probably about 2 weeks. It was the first and only time. Thank God people like you guys will understand this, but this is the best and worst thing that ever happened to me. We go to score some drugs and my buddy says, I can't get this, but I was able to get this. Okay, well, what's that? So he said, I have heroin. It's the first time. I've never done it before. He's like, listen, I already bought it. We can have a good night. So I said, okay. I remember doing it. And then I remember waking up in a hospital.
Oh, good Lord, brother.
So I wake up. My mom's like, do you know what day it is? Do you know what happened? I'm like, Mom, I'm so sorry. I finally got alcohol poisoning. I know I drank too much. Like, it won't happen again. I'll take a couple of weeks off of drinking. Matt, you've been in a coma for a day and a half.
Oh, fuck, dude.
Yeah. So we went in a jacuzzi, and the other gentleman I was with wound up nodding out, and I fell underneath the water, and I was submerged. They don't know. They're thinking somewhere from 1 to 3 minutes. And it was actually those two gentlemen that could have just left me to die. One of them came to, and they pulled me out. We all got arrested because of it. They saved my life, basically.
Holy fuck. Was it at somebody's house or?
It was at my house, in my backyard.
It was at your fucking house. Yep. Whoa. Said somebody, like, how'd the cops get there? What happened?
I'm coming back. Hey, you guys got me?
Yeah, I got you. Go ahead.
Okay, I lost you for a second. The connection. Yeah. So you were saying, I'm sorry, you're saying what the cops?
Yeah, no. So what? So the cops came. Like, where were they? They were like conscious enough to grab you the fuck out.
Yeah.
Or somebody called
the cops Narcaned me, which saved my life. But I had the issue of not being breathing for long enough to where they were afraid that I had brain damage because I was unconscious for so long underneath the water.
Right.
Oh my God. That is like, okay. So you're in the other guys, they were fine.
Yeah.
They
were fine. They saved my, they saved my, what is fine, right? That we all got arrested, but, they didn't overdose.
Above ground,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
They're above ground.
Yep.
Yeah, they're above ground. So what happened from there, brother? What happened from there?
So, I wish I could tell you that I had this come to Jesus. I did, and there'll be a time we'll get to it where I did have a come to Jesus moment.
Yeah, we're unfold.
Yeah.
Well, this is real, man.
Yeah.
This is fucking real. This is unwrapped. So you did not learn your lesson from that.
Well, put it this way. That was when I was 18. I got sober when I was 27. So I needed another 9 years.
All right. So continue.
Yeah.
So continue the journey from 18 to that unfolded.
I woke up in the hospital, and I wish I could tell you that, like, it was like, okay, I'm going to get sober. I remember saying one thing to myself: I'm never doing dope again. Listen, it was the best thing I guess I had. I knew I was going to drink again. And then those next 9 years, so like I was saying, I'm not going to lie to you, drinking and drugging was a lot of fun until it wasn't. But the problem with that is there's this like imaginary line. And when I stepped over that imaginary line, so it went from fun to hell, and there was no in between. Those next 9 years were losing job. I could tell you I can make it really easy. It was drinking and drugging almost every day of my life, losing a job, getting sober for a week, and doing it over again. I lost relationships. I lost family. I went to another couple rehabs in that time. And then 27 was when I hit my next bottom, which is my come to Jesus moment.
All right, so let me up until that. So you had many years of just in your mind between the 18-year-old hospital incident until we're going to call that defining moment. Everything was peaches and cream, because regardless, it was just fun. It was fun until it wasn't fun. You had lost relationships, all the above. So was there any consistent time of impactful, mom, dad still trying to pull you together, girlfriend, somebody shaking you off you just had no part of it, or you were just on cruise control and doing your thing until it was your time? Was anybody trying to?
Yeah. I had and my mom and dad. So I lived with my mom the whole time. My dad had his own issues that he cleaned himself up with, and they loved the shit out of me, man. They tried so hard. And here's the thing: some people, I wanted to get sober for everybody else. It just wasn't for me yet. So I would have bouts. I would have bouts of a week, even a month, but it was just dry knuckle. I wouldn't leave the house, so I wasn't productive, but I wasn't drinking. And then that thought, maybe you could just have one beer, would come back into my head, and it would start the vicious cycle. One thing that I think is really cool, because it brought me back to why I got into fitness. So I am not somebody who stayed working out their whole life, but there was a year when I was in my early 20s where I was drinking still too much, but I stopped doing drugs for a full year, and I was lifting. I got big, man. I was lifting. I loved it. Right. It was the first time I had self-confidence in myself again. I lost a bunch of weight. It didn't stick. But foreshadowing to when I had this moment, it was something I knew that I can go back to. And that played so I had my parents, every girlfriend I had wanted me to change. Girls love a guy that needs to be fixed. That's a generalization. Not all women feel like that, but there are those women, and they saw the good side of me. I was a good person. I wanted to be a good person. When I went on runs, I did some really bad things. But it would always be that, Matt's turning the corner this time. He's going to do it. Just to kind of pull everything down on myself again.
Yeah, right.
Matt,
okay.
Can I ask you, is there any anything like that, like depression or anxiety that drove you to like the drinking that you didn't realize at the time? But
you just hit it on the head, buddy. So right now, this is something I'm really into, is personal development and learning about myself. I didn't know what depression. It wasn't talked about. I know I'm younger, but it was not talked about like it is now. 20 years ago. So I didn't know that I was depressed. I didn't know I have an anxiety, because every time I started feeling it, I drank and drugged again. So that's why I drank and drugged every day, because me being in my own skin for just a few hours was so terrible that I needed the escape. But if you ask me, do you have anxiety? No, I just like to party. But I was having so much anxiety and depression that was my only escape. And so drinking and drugs weren't really the problem. They were my solution. They just wound up stop working. My problem
It was a
me.
Band-Aid, right?
The anxiety,
Yeah.
the fear, the worry, the remorse, the guilt,
Yeah.
self-pity, selfishness, self-seeking motives. I can
It's
name
like
them all.
a vicious cycle.
Not
Keeps
feeling
going on and
comfortable
on.
in your own skin, my
Exactly.
man.
Being
I mean,
alone in a
that's what.
crowded room. Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not feeling, and I got chills listening to this because I mean it's so relatable in so many different times in my life. But that is it. Number one, you're a product of your environment,
Yep.
right? Number two is how well you feel in your own skin, and from that very start, we know there's the positive finish of this story. But to recap, from the very start of you being so fucking hard on yourself, man, and you're either getting ice cream or you're not. And that little comment, I've listen, I got years on you. I come from that old school. My father was no different, and all those guys who are fucking Italian fathers, I know that. I know them. The pointing the finger in the corner of him not. I know that fucking shit. And from that very point, amplified it, man.
Yep.
It does. It's so impactful. And here's the positive. Because of you so hard on yourself, for me, that tells me, and I tell G Money this all the time, is you underestimate yourself and the power of what you're able to do because you didn't really master then harness that desire, that belly of fire to overcome it all. You were a death threat on the mat. It came second nature. But when you need that to overcome all that fucking social anxiety and the social pressure of needing to do the best and be the best, then the only natural thing is the fucking numbing agents, right? I mean, it is what it is. We have numbing agents now. They're called pharmaceuticals, right? It's only managed. I mean, what the fuck, right? And I'm not against if it's needed. We say it allows the elevator not to go to the top floor to be able to really hone in. It's a crutch, try to get a handle on it. So you started harnessing that. So the belly fire is in you. You came to a point, your defining moment, man. Tell me.
Yeah, this was an easy
Tell
one.
me.
October
Tell me.
20th. It was October 20th, 2015. I drank and drugged all night. It was a Monday. It was 4 a.m. I had enough Jameson and blow to probably kill a small family, and a loaded Magnum 357, and I knew that night was the night. There was no more. There was a lot of suicide attempts, really just to make people feel bad for me. Let me back in the house. I'm gonna hurt myself if not that. I'm so embarrassed to say I used to look down on people who would do that when I was a kid. I didn't understand better. And it got to the point I was that person. And I had come to the conclusion that my family would hurt for a few weeks. I had maybe a handful of friends left, but they would all be better off without me. Gun in hand, safety off. This gives me the chills thinking about it. And it's time, I'm going to do it. And a voice came in my head. I know what that voice is. It was God. And God
Praise
tells
the Lord.
me, God just said, just give AA one more chance. I had went for other people. I used to have to get my sheet signed because I was in trouble with the law. And I'd go, I'd drink the coffee and maybe try and pick up a girl. I probably never got one, but I tried. And then I went home, and that was, I didn't give AA a chance. I didn't give God a chance. But when you get to that point and there's only two options, all of a sudden that doesn't sound like such a bad deal.
Right.
Yeah, you're raw. So first question, and sounds like from mom and dad, but grew up in a religious family, Catholic, Christian, Protestant, what?
So my mom was the one who always tried. She's the old school Italian Catholic. So she would try and get us to go to church. My dad was not into it. He actually is now. It's beautiful. But that wasn't his scene, but it always gave us the out. And when we played sports, you remember, you're traveling around every weekend. So my mom would go to church. Who's coming with me? Nobody would go.
Right.
They brought me to the Catholic school, but it was for sports. But little things like that, like that's what saved my, because I heard some things I might not have. I used to look down on the Catholic faith. Oh, they're a bunch of hypocrites. Well, some people, no matter what faith you're about, are, but there's some really good ones too. And I heard some really good things. So obviously something went into my head, and I knew it was God speaking to me. I don't know if it was because of my mother in the Catholic faith. Maybe it was my spirituality. Maybe it was a combination, but I know that there was times in my life that must have started to slip into my subconscious.
Dude, the door was cracked, man.
That's it.
The door was cracked. You let him in, and the rest is history. I mean, amen. Praise the Lord. And that is awesome. So you put down Magnum.
Yep.
Talk me through. What was the rest of the night like?
Yeah.
How did it unpack?
So I texted one of my friends who's actually my business partner that Patty knows. Like Danny was my one friend that's, I don't know if he's a glutton for punishment. We joke about it. Like, I don't know what he saw to stick with me all those years. He'll tell you that there was something about me that he knew I wanted to be good. And he was the only person I texted. I said, I think tonight, if I don't see you, I love you. And he rushed over to my house. And because I didn't use, I had enough flow to kill a small family. But for some reason, I didn't use. And if I would have been crazy enough to do it. I fell asleep on my kitchen table. So Danny came in and he found me like that. And the next day, I couldn't move. I just was in my bed the whole day. But then October 20th was the last day I ever drank or used in 2015. I like to think October 22nd is my sober date because I got my butt up and I went to my first AA meeting. And that's where I kind of
Dude, that is fucking awesome.
And today you are a coach. You are a what? What exactly?
Today I own a
sponsor.
Today I own a small commercial flooring shop. I own the 5 gyms. Co-own with some partners.
Yeah.
I just got into what my real passion is mentoring or coaching people. When you, Rich, you getting to coach. I want to coach people on their mindset, right? Their identity, because not everybody's a badass.
Awesome.
Some people need the confidence to get to that point.
That is awesome, man. So from that point on, it was nothing but a flood of the Lord speaking to you and you basically embracing it to be able to become the best version of yourself thus far.
Yeah. And you know what, though? I'm humble enough to say that the first 4 years of my sobriety, I was on fire. I was doing service. I was helping people. The next 3 or 4 years, my ego came back. I wanted to look good. I own this. I own that. I have a house. I have this. I wanted to show everybody that looked at me as the drug addict from Carlsbad that I had changed. And I started regressing a little. I never drank or used, but the anxiety came back. The fear came back. The limited beliefs came back. And a year ago was when I made that commitment. I'm like, I need to find God again. I need to seek him. He was never gone. I stopped seeking him. I need to go out and actively seek God. And I want to get into a self-help journey. That's where I hired my first mentor. And it's kind of been like that skyrocket. I want to say I'm back, but that wouldn't be enough. I'm a new person. I'm better.
Yeah, well, first of all, you give me chills, dude. That it's so inspiring. And it's inspiring for so many reasons. But, your first sober day was, what was the date?
October 22nd, 2015. So next month will be 9 years, God willing.
Okay, so it's 9 years, which is unbelievable. But, as the journey unfolds, and I'm sure, I do want to ask one question prior, but it's like a simple analogy of working out. You don't work out for a day and get your results and stop. You work out a lifetime. You learn. It is a quality of life each and every day. Will there be some slipping, meaning a junk food or so, to a point, from your status where there'll be some slipping, maybe some doubt, maybe some questioning, but you're strong enough. I could say this as we unpack our conversation. Always remember and never forget that belly of fire that you first initially had when you knew you were the fucking bomb with wrestling. You were like a fish in water. That is something you were born with. And you know as well as I that just what you said, you want to help. Not everybody has a belly of fire. Like they can develop the spark, but that ingrained, That ingrained belly of fire needs to be harnessed, needs to be able to blossom, where you get to the point where it becomes as if you're breathing, such second nature that when you wake up, you had a bad night's sleep, you had a bad pizza, as that Jerry Maguire movie, right? Had bad pizza, bad night's sleep, maybe an argument, maybe financially whatnot, and you wake up and you go, you know what? I got this. I'll regroup. That, and only then, is when you continued to unfold your journey of being the best version of yourself. There's never a need to go, well, let me just fall and have a drink, because now you know how to handle it, and you've always had it, my friend. And the biggest helper that you have, you let into your heart. And our Lord and Savior, there is, being a very faith-driven man, G and I, opening the book day in and day out. I've been involved so long, and there's so much that I need to learn yet. It's just never ending, man. Yep. And he's always teaching me a lesson, always. So you grow on that, my friend, man. Kudos. So my question is what you said. So how are you, number one, with your anxiety or any of the above, besides your mentors in a positive? Did you have, or are you, was there counseling or anything that, when you feel that urge of going in a wrong direction, is it to that point, or you feel pretty confident that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I will tell you, 4 years ago, I was in a bad way, and I was completely sober, but I was going down that rabbit hole again. I didn't know how to deal with the anxiety anymore. I wasn't going to God. I wasn't acting on it. I have done therapy before. First of all, this isn't a pitch for me coaching. There's a difference between the two. I love therapy. The only difference is they can't really share their experience with it. They're talking to you, not purposely down to you, but they're talking to you in a therapy setting. I like that kind of listen, brother, this is what happened to me. Oh, you got bad anxiety? This is how bad my anxiety was. I did exactly this, and this is where I'm at now. So it took a lot of different things. It took God. It took, I have a few really great friends, a mentor, therapy. It's to the point now where I have just these past couple of days, I like to call it off, because anxiety doesn't just vanish. It's okay that it comes. It's what we do with it. Are we going to sit in it for 4 days, or are we going to invite it in? Okay, here you are. What are you here to teach me, anxiety?
Give it 5 minutes, man. Let it do its thing.
But if we don't, if we let it eat at us, it'll turn into something completely different. So
that's it.
That's
good point, my friend. Yeah, good point, my friend. And listen, we all know from a scientific standpoint, anxiety is a natural bodily reaction.
Exactly.
It's unfortunately for all three on this panel, we opened Pandora's box and it could fuck with us.
Yep.
If we let it.
Yep.
But dude, words of wisdom, man. I'm telling you, it was such a great story, and I love the ending, my friend. And I could tell you right now, I know you're friends with Patty, but dude, I'm here. I am a fucking phone call click away. I got stories that'll make you chill and make you feel very proud to be who you are.
Wow.
You're the shit, brother. You're absolutely shit. So as far as the audience listening, because it's about inspiration. Somebody in your position that's didn't quite get there. Any famous last words, man? What kind of encouraging things would you want to say to somebody listening?
Yeah, what I would say is, again, my name's Matt Trost, and I'm fucking unbroken, man. And if you feel like you might be a little broken inside, there's more there, man. There's more to be had. Look, you have my support. You have these two support. This is life can get a whole lot better. You might be down on your knees, but you're not broken.
Dude, you're my motherfucker. Dude, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Matt.
And
Thank
Matt,
you so much.
I follow you on Instagram and Facebook, and I see all your posts, and they are very inspirational. And I just want you to know, seriously, I may not comment, but I'm listening, and you have helped me through some rough days.
That's awesome, man.
So
that's all I want.
Thank you, and I want
to
so
help
glad
people.
That
that's
you
what I want. Thank you so much, Patty. Rich, thank you so much for having me on.
You're welcome, my man. You're welcome.